Good morning to you,
Good
sir.
morning, Francis. How are you doing?
I'm well. In parliamentary terms, I don't know if you pass as being naked today, because for parliament you need to necessarily be, and when you are in suit, it has to be the full complement, a shirt and a tie. But you are in a tee with the suit. Is that admissible in court?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. For if you're a lawyer, no.
But if you are a legal affairs correspondent,
a
layman, you can wear it and go, no problem.
Yes, no problem.
Fantastic.
You won't have issues, but sometimes you have issues because there are certain information that you need to get. They look at you and then they can't trust you. They look at the way you appear, we can't trust you.
Okay, how you appear determines how you are addressed. That's the point.
Yes,
that's the point.
It's very key, and it's one thing that over time I have come to appreciate. I've come to learn, especially within the court settings.
Yeah.
I remember in the early days, you go to court, you are in your shirt, the ordinary shirt, and all that, and the whole place is choked like yesterday, for instance. Let me use yesterday, for instance. And then they look at you and they brush you aside, and then they are allowing other people to.
Who are in suit and tie?
Absolutely. And before you realize, you are told that the whole place is full.
So you have to get out.
You have to get out.
My dear.
how do you accept that? Knowing that you were even the very first person
to arrive
there, and then they tell you that there's no space for you, so you have to go out and all that.
It's a very
painful.
It's a very poignant lesson you have taught us this morning.
Yes. So around the corridors of the court, there are certain things you don't take for granted. Yes.
Especially your looks, how you appear, how you dress up to show up for work.
You can easily enter where you're not supposed to enter once
you look the part.
Absolutely.
I see. That's why sometimes some people dress up and become imposters and come and walk around the courts.
Of course. So when you study the terrain and you know that you can
easily blend.
You look so busy for nothing.
While you are going, let me stop you before you get yourself in trouble. Anyway, yesterday in court was the ambulance trial. What happened?
Francis, yesterday, one of the sessions that you when you talk about numbers, when you talk about the euphoria, how people were willing to, as it were, come and experience what will happen, what was telling. Case was earmarked for 12 o'clock, and at 12 it was called. But along the line, somewhere around 11:30, you notice that when people are coming, they don't come in ones, they don't come in twos, they come in groups. Lawyers coming in groups, parties, politicians coming in groups, and all that. So before you could say Jack, the whole place was filled. In fact, we have some foreigners, some from the United States, all of them coming to witness what was happening. So I had a point to even interact with some of them and find out how different is the Ghanaian court system with the United States. They said it depends. Okay. It looked much more similar, but some few differences and all that. Okay. So yesterday, the courtroom, some big names, politicians, former Attorney General was there, Marietta Buapia-Opon. Up to when the case was called, Justice Ifeanyi started to say that there are 4 pending applications before the court for determination. So the court was recalling all those cases. The first has to do with the stay of proceedings to arrest the court's directive or order for lawyers of Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson to cross-examine Jakpa first before the Attorney General. That is one. Then the court made reference to the application filed by Richard Jakpa asking for the charges against him to be dropped. The court also made references to Dr. Ato Forson's application asking for it's a mistrial, and also those asking for the conduct of the Attorney General to be, as it were, investigated or to be looked into and all that. So the court said, look, I have looked at all the processes filed, and the court before then inquired from the parties if they have all received whatever processes they ought to receive, and they indicated that they have received. So defense have received the opposition from the Attorney General's office. The AG has also received whatever the accused persons have filed. And at this particular point, there was a Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiaibua, who was addressing the court. Then guess what? Moments later, Godfred Dame walked in. So he arrived a few minutes after the case was called, and then the representative of the accused and then the AG's office were addressing the court. So his presence was acknowledged by the court, and in fact, the court asked that it indicated at the time that he arrived in court. Then, the Justice Efia Sewa Sariboche indicated that she was not going to welcome any oral arguments, any oral submissions. And in law, they say viva voce.
Yes.
Yes. No viva
For
voce.
yesterday.
Yes.
Why?
On the application, on the 4 applications
that have been filed. Okay.
He said, looking at the submissions that have been filed by the parties, very extensive, and the court will solely rely on those submissions to make a determination. So, as for oral submissions, there, embassy. So that was, but the court said the only thing she will allow, the one I say the court, and then I'm making reference to she, the judge. Absolutely. Yes. Just if Yasewa Sariboche said the only thing she will allow is the objection that lawyer Thaddeus Sorry intend to raise on the Attorney General's affidavit in opposition to his client's request that the charges against him be dropped. It said if you look at the depositions made, and it was deposed to by Richard Jakpa, a principal state attorney, and from principal you go to a chief state attorney, then you are rising. You get it.
From chief state attorney, what's next?
You can become a director of public prosecution.
DPP.
Yes.
I see.
So that is in fact that is the highest in
office.
In terms of
the progression.
Absolutely. So
because the AG's office is by appointment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you
it's not by rank and file, like rising in the ranks.
When you get to chief state attorney, you're
okay.
So principal, you are just behind the chief state.
One step behind.
Yes, just one step behind.
Okay.
So he's a principal state attorney, and then he deposed to the affidavit in opposition, and they are saying that look, there are certain paragraphs, things that he said make direct reference to the interaction that happened between Jakpa and the Attorney General. So you were not there. Why are you talking for the man who was there? So you are not supposed to be the one. It is the Attorney General who is supposed to go. And guess what? AG himself stood up after the lawyer Thaddeus Sorry was done and also made a point to the effect that the court should not admit whatever objection that they were raising, whatever they filed were in order. The principal state attorney laid foundation. It was proper for him to have deposed to the affidavit in opposition and all that. So just if Yasewa Sariboche said, look, I've heard all of you. Is there anything that anybody else wants to say? Else I'm adjourning. And the two all rulings, so 4 especially with regard to the application, to tomorrow. Then lawyer for Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson raised the issue about the supplementary affidavit. He noticed about the audio that they are asking the court to play. The court said, look, it is before me. I am going to consider everything that is before the court, and I'll come out with the ruling on Thursday. And the Thursday is tomorrow. So we expect that to happen. But what have the parties been saying? First of all, the man of the moment, Richard Jakpa, before the court sitting, had some interactions with him. And let's hear what the man...
Well, that was before the sitting?
Before the sitting. Okay. And let's hear what he will say.
I see.
There's no need for face-to-face. We are doing everything in court. My lawyers will deal with it.
In court, in court.
But how cannot cross-examine him? My lawyer will do that. So there's nothing like face-to-face.
Have you
it's
seen
an
him?
issue of evidence against evidence. The game is about evidence, that is all.
Have you seen him since you put out the tape? Have you seen the Attorney General after putting out the tape in the public domain?
Not at all.
Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
Have you reached out to him?
Not at all.
So there was a CJ, a Justice of the Supreme Court involved. Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
There were many who were of the belief that you actually thought about you wanted to record the Attorney General. That's why your voice is so loud.
Well, that is their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion.
Okay. So how's the feeling now that the whole thing is out? Now you are the man in town. Everybody is talking about Mr. Jakpa.
Well, I'm focusing in court. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. What kind of public opinion? I've not spoken to the public. I'm dealing with the court.
What kind of reception do you get after this whole matter?
Oh, normal as in every other citizen.
You walk free in town, nobody says anything.
Are you concerned about your security?
Well,
you are a security couple, you have a background in security and all of that.
I'm a gorilla in the jungle, so I'm not worried about the jungle business.
You don't think they will come after you? Someone will come after you?
They can try. If they succeed, fine. But they must make sure they come with professionals.
Have you received any threats?
If they bring amateurs, it will be death sentence for them. But if they should be bringing professionals, if they really want to come after them. That is all.
Many see you to be an outspoken person. You're a very strong man. Is that the case?
Well, that is their opinion. Okay.
All right.
But what I know is that I'm a principled man.
You're a principled man.
That is all. As to being a strong man, it's a different matter altogether.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again after the.
I see. Okay.
So
That's Jakpa, eh?
Richard Jakpa, yes.
Okay.
Before the court sitting yesterday, I was interacting with him and all that. He said he's a principled man. But as to whether he's a strong man,
It's another matter.
Yeah, it's another matter altogether. So that was the interaction we had with him before yesterday's court sitting. But the Attorney General, the man who has been accused of all, or the man who the allegations have been made against yesterday, made his first appearance after the allegation, and he had this work to say by way of breaking silence.
I was not surprised. I mean, they're always resorting to all these tricks, and of course, we applied, as we know. All I can say is that the Lord does not delight in the pleasure of the wicked, and that even though they've laid traps for me, I will flee from them. And righteousness always prevail over evil. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Yes. So the Attorney General have a brief word for them. He said, whatever you plan for me, I'll flee.
Yeah.
And I'll come out.
Okay.
Recently, Sexy Dondon is saying that his story it mirrors the Daniel in the Bible.
Okay.
And so whatever Daniel went through, he motivates himself by saying that the same thing that he's going through, so he will come out. So the Attorney General is saying that, look, all that have been planted my way, I know I will escape. I'll maneuver through. I'll prevail. And if you plant evil for me, God is with him.
Okay.
So he will surmount the task. So that is the Attorney General. Very brief yesterday after the court sitting. But the National Democratic Congress, Sami Jemfi, National Communications Officer, he expressed concern about the fact that, in fact, he had been explaining why lawyers of Richard Jakpa, as it were, raised objection to the principal state attorney's opposition to their request. Let's hear what he has to say.
This is somebody who knows that there will be consequences if he swears an oath and lies under oath. So he's shifting the responsibility to a principal state attorney to deny for him things that he can deny. That is strange. That is incredible. You understand? And that is why counsel for Mr. Jakpa has raised an objection that in law, that principal state attorney cannot be the one making those depositions, because you can't give hearsay evidence in court. You were not on the call, which was recorded by Mr. Jakpa. You were not in the interactions, the meetings that Mr. Jakpa claims to have had with Godfred Dame. And those matters are not part of your work as principal state attorney. And so you cannot say that those matters are in your personal knowledge. You know, you can only testify to matters within your personal knowledge, except under certain exceptional circumstances. And in this case, those exceptional circumstances don't exist. And that is why lawyer Tadio Sori was making the point that that is why he was making the point that he's opposed to the affidavit in opposition from the AG's, outfit, because only Godfred Dame can say whether or not Jakpa's testimony is true or false. You and I were not there. That principal attorney was not there. And the principal state attorney has even gone to the extent of deposing to matters that happened in chambers when he was not in chambers. You understand? So who is feeding him that information? Clearly Mr. Dame. And why is it that Mr. Dame himself, who is the subject of these matters, if he has nothing to hide, cannot depose to those issues? There is a public officer paid with our taxes, and serious averments have been made in courts, not in the media, against him. He's been quick to deny them in the media. His spokesperson, Wilberforce. You understand? And the Deputy Attorney General have issued statements and granted interviews defending him. Now we come to court, you expect this Attorney General to swear an affidavit, to dispute these things, to provide counter evidence. And the man is fleeing from accountability. He can't defend himself. He wants somebody to do that for him. Well, we wait to see what the court's decision will be on all these matters, which I believe will be assessed by the court in arriving at the decision.
Okay.
So that is Sami Jemfi. He said, look, AG, what are you hiding? You should have deposed to those affidavit in opposition.
But
And
strictly in law, and you are best placed to educate me on this. Yes, it's true. The deposition and the details therein, the one who was in chambers was not the principal state attorney.
yes,
Richard Jakpa, it was the Attorney General,
Attorney General, yes.
Godfred Dame. But can the AG opt for the principal state attorney to do what he's done in court?
So, for the experience and what I have been able to witness along the line is
Yes.
that people depose to matters that are of in their person, they have personal knowledge of them.
Okay.
Sometimes you see clerks of certain lawyers filing depositions using their names.
And let's be clear, what is a deposition for those who are alien to matters of law?
Okay, so all that we are saying is that you have made certain representation.
Yes.
You're making certain statements, and you want the court to have it. So you are a deponent in trials when you file documents at the court in your personal capacity or in some way official capacity. That particular process that you are filing is what we call deposition. So
Okay.
you are the deponent and you depose to affidavit and other stuff that are supposed to be relied on by the court.
Okay.
So if the court is saying that the parties should file certain processes, there should be an identifiable person who is filing who can be subjected to scrutiny and all that. So the person who is doing that is the deponent, and that particular document that you file is the deposition that we are talking about. So what the Attorney General or the Attorney General office did in relation to responding to the application that were filed. You know, when you mention the Attorney General, like I mentioned, they have various ranks, from state attorney, assistant state attorney, senior state attorney, chief state attorney, principal, then you go to chief state attorney and all that. So depending on the nature of the case, somebody is assigned. So the person who is assigned takes charge, and then you assign the dockets, and then you work on. So in the course of when you interact with people, so some way, somehow, you have some personal knowledge about some of these things. So in relation to this case, Richard Jakpa deposed to that affidavit in opposition to what Richard Jakpa has filed, asking the court to ask it to drop the charges against him. And they are saying that the Attorney General, in responding, decided that Richard Jakpa should handle that. And they are saying that Richard Jakpa was
They being Sammy Jemfi.
yeah, they being Richard Jakpa and
Okay.
lawyers.
Okay.
They are saying that Sammy Jemfi, you made me even mention something.
Sorry.
Richard Jakpa is not the person who is alleged to have had a communication with Mr. Jakpa. So whatever Mr. Jakpa or Richard Jakpa says will be a hearsay, will be a reported statement. Somebody told him. But ordinarily, they want the Attorney General himself to respond to those things so that they can subject it. Now, if you are subjecting Richard Jakpa to, let's say, cross-examination, what kind of questions are you going to ask him? Were you there? Why did you say this? When the Attorney General, the voice that we heard, it was an exchange. So that was the issue that they had yesterday. But the AG is saying that, but it is not wrong in what I have been able to witness, or the court would deal with them as it is. And if those questions that the court, the accused person and his lawyers are raising, the court find wisdom in it, there's a way that the court will handle and make reference to the fact that even though the person at the center of the matter is here, he did not make comments. Somebody else made comment. The court is wondering why the person himself is available and then somebody else. I've seen rulings, judgment where courts make certain concerns, draw parties' attention. So if I come to court and I mention your name, Francis Abban, and I'm not able to call you to come to court, note that there are consequences. That's how it works. So if you are able to, if you are saying something, you have to justify it. You get the point. So that is why they are saying that, look, Richard Jakpa did not have personal knowledge. He was not there when Richard Jakpa and Attorney General had that conversations. Where did he get the information from? So it is possibly there are inferences that the Attorney General is the one feeding him with the information. So if he is feeding you with the information, why did he not depose to that himself? So that is the argument that they are making. So you take us to the second leg of what Sammy Jemfi has been saying. He said, look, crime has no expiring date. And whatever is happening They are going to, irrespective of the outcome of whatever the rulings will be, they will take Godfred Dame on.
What I can tell you, though, is that irrespective of what the decision of the court is in this matter, we as a political party, and of course all well-meaning Ghanaians, will join us to demand accountability from the Attorney General, because he is first of all a public officer occupying a very important role. Our prosecutorial powers as a country have been vested in him. He is paid with our taxpayers' money. He is supposed to do fairness and justice to all manner of persons. And so this is not only matters that are sub judice. These are matters of considerable public interest. And irrespective of what happens in court on these matters, we will pursue these matters to their logical conclusion. We've spoken about a motion of censure and a publicly televised investigation into this matter by Parliament. We are going to pursue that. We've spoken about disciplinary proceedings against him by the appropriate bodies, including the General Legal Council. We are going to take that up. And we've also spoken about possible criminal prosecution. And if it doesn't happen now, well, crime has no expiry date. It will happen someday. Thank you.
So that's Sami Jemfi.
Yes, so that's Sami Jemfi.
All right.
He's saying that, look, the various institutions that conduct investigation, they will go to Parliament, like we saw with the IGP issues in Parliament and all that. They are seeking something of that nature. But time will tell. So hopefully tomorrow, Justice Efiasewa Saribotwe will sit again, and then 4 rulings. The court said the rulings will be reasoned ruling.
Okay.
So you read it. If you understand, fine. If you agree, fine. If you don't agree, then you go upstairs. You go and meet the 3 wise men. Yes. When you go to the court of appeal, you are meeting 3 judges.
Yeah.
Yes. So
And then
judges,
they will decide.
Yeah, they will decide. So
what the
single
outcome
judge
would be.
has said,
All
whether
right.
the judge is right or wrong. So
All right.
in order not to have an even number, that's why they sit in 3. So you either have 2-1 or 3-0.
Okay.
Unanimous FC.
All right. Now let's look to what's coming today. Imani as Attorney General, what's that case about, and what are we to expect?
So Imani Kusieni sued the Attorney General, and they are saying, look, when the executive should be stopped from interfering with affairs of these security agencies, IGP, chief fire officers, and other stuff, you notice that more often than not, when there's a change of government, one way or the other, there's a new IGP, there's a new chief fire officer. They are saying that is unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court will intervene to make it that until the person has put up a conduct that is unacceptable at that particular point in time, the person can be removed. But if the person hasn't demonstrated any of such behavior or any incompetence, and the person is in office, he should be allowed to serve his term until death even take the person away. So the executive should be stopped from interfering in the affairs of these security institutions, the uniform security institution. Some of them being the Ghana Police Service, the IGP. You know, the IGP is a political appointment and all that. So they are actually at the Supreme Court challenging that. So that case is coming up today, and the Supreme Court is expected.
Please hold for me, Murtala. Let me quickly speak to Dr. Adam Bonaa. He's a security analyst joining us this morning. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Francis, and thank you for having me.
The issue to do with the ambulance trial and the recording that has courted all the controversy that we're hearing of, and that's a recording of the discussions between Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General. From a purely security standpoint, at what point does a recording have value in matters to do with a court case?
Well, from a purely security standpoint, it's a universal call it matter when the issue borders on human rights, when the issue borders on what do you call it, a crime, when the issue borders on money laundering, it borders on something that you can point a finger at and say it is criminal. That way, you cannot actually come or take cover under the cloak of privacy of conversation, because then you and I know that even when you come to our own jurisdiction within this country, People recently, some accused persons have been sentenced to the death for attempted coup. And these recordings were, call it, adduced, or where they got the recording that were used against them was done obviously secretly. And so as a matter of security standpoint, anything you do that would be seen to be injurious to another person or to a state like ours, you cannot actually say, well, we had this conversation in the privacy of our home, and therefore it cannot be used against me. So it's something that is done universally, and so what we have here, and for even us, we have the Whistleblowers Act. Ofosu Ampofo is being tried for a recording that was done without his knowledge. There are several people who have been caught this police leak tape. And so as far as I'm concerned, it has high value. It has high value because when you supposedly or allegedly would have your Minister of Justice attempting to coerce, call it that way, for an individual to say something, allegedly, for him to be able to be successful in prosecuting the person, then the question that begs asking is how many innocent people are in jail. Usually, this could lead, if for want of better words, if, for instance, he's been the Attorney General for a long time, and several people in jail, feel that the way they were tried, probably they believe they were not treated fairly and justly or reasonably. What happens is that usually it starts agitation in the prisons by convicts and those who are on remand. It could start, and so those are some of the ramifications when you talk about what has happened between Richard Jakpa and the AG and the Minister of Justice. I am interested in the aspect of the Minister of Justice. As for the AG, we can talk about that next time. But I am interested because, my civil liberties, your civil liberties, every individual, BU, MPP, NDC, PPP, CPP, and the rest, all of us, our liberties are usually technically in the hand of our Minister of Justice, whether we are in Ghana or we are outside Ghana, so that when you are being treated unfairly in, let's say, Taiwan, or you are being treated unfairly in Bangkok, it is incumbent on our Minister of Justice to ensure that either he himself would represent you there or send persons who work with him to represent you, because he's supposed to seek your freedom reasonably so that you are treated fairly according to that country's law and universal law. That is his work. But if we begin to see that on our own soil, where our Minister of Justice then begins to do some of these things, asking people to procure allegedly fictitious medical certificates for an excuse in courts, then you know that the question I have asked, how many others has he done that we probably, it didn't come to the attention of the public and it didn't come to the attention of the honorable court. And so, Francis, this has a lot of security ramifications. So we are not looking at it from until such a time that, those of us listening and talking about this, you are caught in that web where you begin to, and you begin to feel that you are not being treated fairly. In the Agojo, ACP Agojo trial, Martin Pebu made an allegation that the AG before him told him in the presence of the court that he only added Agojo, Dr. Agojo, because he wanted to ensure that his case was weighty. You see, when you do this, and Agojo didn't have a proper counsel to represent him in court, he would have been in jail for something that he has not done. And there is, a saying in law that it is better to free, 1,000 accused person or, accused person or, a suspected person than to incarcerate one innocent man. And so and when Martin Pebu made these allegations against the AG, I'm sure you yourself, Ibrahim, your producer, he's spoken to me on other things. But if you can confirm whether the AG has rebutted that particular allegation that this is
not that I've heard of, no.
He hasn't rebutted it. And you know, in some instances, your silence would mean, yes, you acknowledge and accept the fact that you indeed made those comments. If not, these are serious allegations. It's not an allegation where you think someone is making up allegations. That it would have been good for him to rebut and say, well, I never said that. But unfortunately, he's kept quiet over the years, and his own contradictions here and there involving other cases. And you can see him now quoting Bible verses. So, Francis, it has a lot of security ramifications for us.
All right. Now, Mr. Jakpa also contends that what we've heard is just part of a lot more that exists. Is there more to come?
Oh, yeah. There is more to come, of course. There is more to come. And that is so, AG, I'm sure a lot of it is likely to be heard, in camera, not on camera. I suspect so, because then I always say that whatever we do, it's not everything. What ordinary citizens would see on the streets is usually what has been painted very well. But if you go into the national security and intelligence circles, a lot of the things that happen, 99% of them are not supposed to come out, because if they do, it will lead to instability and what have you for any country.
How so?
Of course. Like I'm saying, I don't think I want to take the seal out of those who are involved in this, but I believe that if there is none, Richard Jakpa would not be talking the way he's talking. And so as far as I'm concerned, and being privy to certain things, I would say that, yes, I'm not expecting all of it to be on camera. It should be, in camera. Because if it is on camera, it won't help us. It would not. You know that day, the day in court, that particular day in court when he started the allegation, quickly the judge had to, stand down and say they should meet in caucus, and then they had a conversation and they returned. And the issue was adjourned and all that. Of course, judges are trained to deal with these matters because they are also humans just like we are. And they are very sensitive when it comes to issues that would mar the stability of this country. It's the reason why for some of these things, of course, you usually would have a judge, or would say this, we need to hear it in camera. It should not be. So I'm sure when they do their own assessment, even though we are hearing a live telecast, I don't want to believe that it is everything that would be live telecasted, because then, Francis, between myself and you, some of the things must be handled in camera and not, on camera, because it will not help us, Francis. No.
What about the bits argued about entrapment? Does that apply in this instance?
It doesn't apply in this instance. I quoted the Whistleblowers Act. If you say, Francis, let me be very honest with you. See, between me and you, if you, and I've said this repeatedly, if myself and you, I, sometimes talk to Ibrahim, myself and you or Ibrahim, the three of us meet over Wache, and you take some bottle of beer or something that begins to make you intoxicated, and you begin to talk about some plot, or some other persons closer to us begins to talk about some plot because we invited them for Wache, or we sat over Wache, and they overheard the Wache and drank something and started talking. And I think that what they are talking about will destroy this country. I don't want to believe it will pass as entrapment, but let me tell you what. I have said it repeatedly, I think on your network, GH1, that AG rather entrapped the Justice of the Supreme Court. Because the morning before the meeting at the Justice of the Supreme Court's home, AG has spoken to Jakpa without the Supreme Court judge knowing that AG would even pass by. He would pass by his house, and didn't know that even Jakpa, his brother, would pass by his house. So he was there, AG arrives, and 5 minutes or so later, Jakpa himself arrives. So if you tell me I kidnapped you, how did I kidnap you when I came to meet you in my house? It's different if you say I lured. You know, the initial thing was that he was ambushed. Then later I changed it and said they met once at the Supreme Court judge's house once, and it was accidental. He accidentally bumped into Jakpa. And I said, no, you did not accidentally bump into Jakpa. You had invited Jakpa to come. And Richard Jakpa, Lieutenant Jakpa, actually came to your house. And when you got there before he got there, without Jakpa's big brother knowing that the two of you had prior arrangements. And you can see from their telephone conversation. Okay, apart from everything, you can see. So mine is that if you say you see, sometimes we need to be sincere. I believe in sincerity. We need to be sincere and call a spade a spade. Because then if you say you have been entrapped, he should have maintained, in any case, he even said he had a video. AG and his spokesperson, Wilberforce, actually said there was a video that captures the minority leader, coming to bed. And they said a video, you see, a video is different from audio. Video means that I see you feely, and you are talking. And it's not like something AI generated, but you are talking and everything, the sequence, everything is correct. But up to today, the video hasn't come out. We were told that, you were ambushed. Then later, when the information came out, you said you were recorded at a Supreme Court judge's home. Then what if you listen to the tape? The recording was not done at a Supreme Court justice's home. But my point is that no law forbids anybody to visit a friend. The fact that you are AG doesn't, exclude you from visiting a friend who you have known and the person is a Supreme Court judge. But you must understand that if a Supreme Court judge would have family, so if his brothers visit him and come to meet you there, and he sits in, you don't see, I was entrapped. But subsequently, he's backing off from all these things and now trying to say they met once. And you can see it is he's not matured enough. Immaturity, that is doing the damage. And maybe he had a self-belief that he was invincible. Because then if not, you AG, how did he not know that he was getting recorded? You AG, how did you not know that the person is asking you leading questions? The way the person is talking. I teach this thing. I teach it. I teach this aspect of, how do you know someone is? I teach it. So how did you not know that you were getting recorded? There's something I teach. I teach it. You should know one or two statements from the person that you should know that the way this person is talking, no, he's recording me. But for you to, even when you sense it that you think he's recording you, when your instinct led you to believe that he's recording you, that was when you even made a damning statement, allegedly, that I won't be in court. I want to travel. So can you go to the hospital to procure an excuse, a certificate or a certificate to give an excuse that you are sick? Between you and I, if I had done this, and if this thing, someone is being prosecuted in court and it comes out publicly that me, I told the person, Charlie, just go to the hospital and go and procure such a document. You know what it means. You know what it means. So the position of the Attorney General is untenable. He needs to step aside. And I've said that in other publication together with the Iyoku boss. Listen, as we speak, Francis, as we speak today, the Cecilia Daparte, you have even heard, what's the name? The Gamanche, and a lot of people speaking about it. You see, Ghanaians are feeling the weight of, the economy on us. And so the few of us who probably can buy a 2 square meal, a majority cannot buy anything. One day, the majority who can buy 1 square meal. And those of us who can afford maybe 2 square, they will come after us if we don't speak up. And so you have all these things going on, and we are behaving as if we are ostriches. We are not seeing what is going on. And the AG is with tacit support of probably the appointor. They are looking on and telling us a lot of things that, if you ask me, that's not how we are supposed to be as Ghanaians. Why do you think that if you're a Ghanaian passport holder, usually you don't go through a lot of troubles when you land at various destinations of the world? Because we are people who, to a very large extent, we are respected out there. But in our own country, you have some people who think that, no, they can do whatever they want to do and get away with it. So for me, I think you heard him quoting Bible quotations, and I asked friends to help me with a quotation, and they aided me with a quotation. When you go to Proverbs 28:1, it says, "The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion." He quoted something that said that, he will flee from the wicked. Well, the Proverbs 28:1 also says that the wicked will flee when he hasn't been pursued. And that is what the AG is doing. And how many verses didn't we hear from Ken Oforiatta? We heard them all the time for the last 7 years. We've been hearing them. Okay. What have happened to our Ghana city and the economy?
Dr. Bonaa, let me ask this, and this a question has been asked by one of our listeners, that based on what you know and your understanding of what has happened, do you have any familial relation with Mr. Jakpa?
Oh, yes. Jakpa is my kid brother. Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
I said it on your network.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Jakpa is but that does not take away my right to be a citizen and not a spectator in Ghana, isn't it?
Of course not, yes.
Yes, that does not take away my right to be a citizen. And before this leak tape came out, some of us were on the heels of the AG about this Iyoko Cecilia Dapa matter. So for some of us, what we see of him is not anything good. So this has really nothing to do with Richard Jakpa. If he was anybody apart from Jakpa, I would have spoken the same way. It has nothing to do, but you not being a relation to Jakpa or Justice Yoni Kulendi. The question I ask you is that, are you happy with the way the AG and the Yoko boss treated this Cecilia Dapa thing and the contradictions? If you see the evidence out there, I've seen the evidence, the exchange between the AG people, the AG people. I have some information from the AG people. They are people who share information with us.
Okay,
and
sure.
from Iyoko themselves about the investigations concerning Cecilia Dapa. And are you aware that as we have petitioned Parliament, maybe you guys don't know, but I'm sure by the close of day today you would hear that there is an injunction, even though Parliament has not even decided on the petition. Some persons have gone to court on behalf of the AG and Iyoko to injunct the fact that Parliament, they've gone to the Supreme Court to say that it will come out. This is information that I'm giving you. I don't think any media house has it. Information I'm sharing with you that petitioners, there's so many Ghanaians who petition Parliament that Parliament should play an oversight role in terms of when we are not happy. Ghanaians should be able to appeal to Parliament to say, this thing, we think you should look into it. Some people have gone to the Supreme Court. I won't go to the substance of that. It will come out. Gone to the Supreme Court seeking to injunct Parliament from playing its oversight responsibility or role. And so mine is that if you feel on this Cecilia Dapa thing, and for now, let me say Cecilia Dapa, if you feel that everything was pepe, you are not going to, you will say, well, anybody can probe this thing and the results will be the same. I mean, in any case, those of us into research will tell you that my research is so, the margin of error is so small that whatever you do, the results will look similar to mine and will not be different. So this issue has been injuncted. Yes, I have this. He's a kid brother, and Yoni himself. So, but it doesn't take away my right to be a citizen,
of course,
and not a spectator of Ghana, as the president said we should be.
Sure, Dr. Bonaa. As always, I thank you very much for your time and for joining us.
Thank you too.
All right, Dr. Adam Bonaa is the security analyst. Joined us this morning with his thoughts there on the issues to do with Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General and the ambulance trial. We also know that in politics, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, has been touring the Greater Accra region. In fact, he had a meeting with the Ga chiefs. We can speak now to Anthony Karbo, the senior campaign aide for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and the campaign team. Mr. Karbo, good morning.
Good morning, my friend.
I trust you're all in keeping safe, sir.
Very well. Thanks for having me this morning.
Fantastic. The Vice President and the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, has been meeting the clergy and also traditional leaders as part of his campaign. What has been the sole objective of these specific group meetings?
I mean, thank you very much. You remember that since Bawumia was elected, we had the 7th speech at the UPSA, and since then we've been taking that message to stakeholders across the country. We've met various stakeholders, the TUC, AGI, Nurses and Midwifery Association. We've met various stakeholders as far as the country is concerned, all these in preparation towards the manifesto. So the candidate is taking on board suggestions and ideas from these groups to fashion out the manifesto, which we'll be launching very soon. And so as part of these engagements, we are meeting with chiefs, we are meeting with religious leaders, we are meeting with Muslim leaders, we are meeting with Christian faith, all manner of people, young people, market women, interested groups as far as this manifesto is concerned, because we're looking to put together people's manifesto that will capture their aspirations, the problems, the issues, and provide them with the right solution. That's why we're testing our campaign as all solutions for the future. We're looking to really speak into the hearts and minds of people's problems.
We heard what the president of the Greater Accra House of Chiefs had to say in his description of Dr. Bawumia and his leadership style. Do you see this as an endorsement of Dr. Bawumia by the Ga chiefs?
Well, I think it's just a testimonial of their close observation and observance of him over the time since he got into politics. And I think that will be an apt conclusion of the personality and person of Bawumia.
And in the deliberations between the Ga chiefs and Dr. Bawumia, was there any talk as well of him making a choice of his running mate from the Greater Accra region? Oh, I think I've lost Mr. Karbo. Let's try and re-establish contact with him. So the other elements to do with the campaign can be discussed here on the show. Yes, it's 8:20. You're listening to Morning Star, live here on Star 103.5 FM. Mr. Karbo, I lost you momentarily. Sorry.
Yes. So your question again, please.
Okay, so the question I was asking is that in the deliberations between Dr. Bawumia and the Greater Accra House of Chiefs, was there any lobby for a son or daughter of the land to be Dr. Bawumia's running mate?
That was during the Q&A session.
Okay.
Was when one of the chiefs indicated same, and this is not new. I mean, in the Bonaa Ahafo region, the chiefs made same request to the vice president. In the Ahafo region, and same request was made. In the Volta region, a few people also made suggestions like that. And so the vice president responded saying that, well, he's taking up these various suggestions, and when he's about to make this consideration, all that will be taken into account. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay. In terms of considerations, yes, the choice will be made by Dr. Bawumia, who's the flag bearer of the party. Many are asking why it's taken this long for the choice to be made public. Do you understand why?
I don't know why this is an issue, because the last time Dr. Bawumia himself was chosen as running mate some 16 years ago, 15 years ago, he was chosen in August. So what is the issue? I don't know how fast the NPP has ever picked a running mate. The party and the leader has all the time to make this consideration. But I just don't want this conversation to be about the running mate. The flag bearer and leader of the party is currently touring the country, and let's focus on
that. That's fair. But let me ask just one question to this so we can close. You've just said that per convention, the MPP does not choose its running mate early. So are we following that same convention this time, that the announcement will be made in August or later?
I just made a reference to his own selection date. I didn't say that is the cut-off date or point. It could be tomorrow, it could be any time. But I'm saying that is not the focus of the tour of the flag bearer. The leader of the party is going around the country, and he's sounding particular issues, and I think that should be the focus of our public engagement.
Okay, so to what's been said by the flag bearer, we can of course talk about what's been said. The decision to have persons who are getting treatment for dialysis. The vice president and flag bearer was emphatic on Monday that the signal has been given that henceforth all persons who are below the age of 18 and above the age of 60 will be getting dialysis treatment for free. When is that taking absolute effect? Because per our checks, people are still paying below the age and above the age for dialysis treatment. Okay, let's try and re-establish contact with Mr. Anthony Karbo to get some clear answers to these issues that have been raised on the campaign trail by Dr. Bawumia, flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. It's 24 minutes past 8. You're listening to Morning Star. We're live here in Accra on Star 103.5 FM. Mr. Karbo, I don't know who's disturbing our line. Sorry about that.
I really don't know, but I'm sorry too.
That's fine. So I'm asking, on the matter of dialysis, the Vice President and flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, was clear that persons under the age of 18 and above the age of 60 will be getting free dialysis care. We did our checks where the kidney patients do go for care, and they're still being made to pay, who are under the age and within the brackets that this covers. Do we understand why that's happening?
Well, I think that the National Health Insurance Authority was very emphatic about the new policy. And as far as the government's decision has been taken to ensure that this matter is dealt with once and for all. And we all admit that the dialysis situation in this country, especially if you don't really know or have a family member or friend who is going through this, you will never appreciate the pain that people go through as far as this matter is concerned. I mean, in the last 4 or 5 months, I've had people that I've known very closely who have passed on as a result of the lack of thereof of this facility and their inability to pay for it because it's quite expensive, you know. So this decision by the government and the National Health Insurance Authority to ensure that this new policy is implemented across the board is a very important and major step. I'm very, very confident that the National Health Insurance and all these medical facilities across the country do have a data of all the people who are scheduled for or shortlisted for these treatments. And it's based upon that data that this decision is taken when government looks at what the cost of it will be. So I will be very surprised if after this announcement, any of the health facilities where this particular thing goes on is not being adhered to. And I would want to believe that the authority in charge will have to ensure that this announcement is not a fluke. But as far as I know, this is well intended by government, and the relevant agencies must act appropriately.
In the build-up to the 2000 election, the message of the NPP was, look at your circumstance and make a choice. Does that refrain 24 years on still apply heading into the 2024 elections?
No one election is the same election. I'm sure you know that.
That's true, yes.
The products that we are marketing or the product that we're putting on the mat are not the same. We're dealing with a different kettle of fish. We've never had an election in Ghana where a former president is coming back to run for the presidency of this country. 2024 election is a completely different type of election. The NPP, for the first time, is introducing a non-Akan northern Muslim. The NDC is bringing back a candidate who is on his third run to become a president, who has been president before. In the history of this country since independence, we are having two candidates emerging from one geographical part of the country. Clearly throws these elections out of the window. It's not an easy call for any of the parties. The dynamics of the elections, the variables of the elections, the considerations of the elections are completely different. One candidate can be president for 4 years. The other candidate can be president for the 8-year term. Those are the choices, those are the decisions that are before the Ghanaian people. And that is what we must pay attention to.
But are you saying, Mr. Karbo, that based on these dynamics that you've identified, the Ghanaian voters should not look at their living conditions today to make a choice?
I mean, I said everybody will make a choice based on whatever. For instance, if I'm to make my own consideration, of course I'll look at my situation. What is my current situation? If you want us to go into that, I'm prepared to engage you on that.
Let's do that.
Okay. I come from Laura, a rural community in Ghana. And by 2016, all those who went to senior high school in my village had to pay 300, 400 Ghana cedis per term. Today, as I speak, 7 years on, in my village, well over 500 students have gone through this free senior high school education without paying a dime. That is the condition that I am in today, because I don't have to send money from Accra to my cousins and nephews and nieces in the village to pay for them to get education. If there's anything that is important in this current fourth revolution that all of us as Ghanaians must rally around, is this free SHS. So my condition has changed. I have saved disposable income to do other things other than having to lend that out or lend this support to family members, cousins, and brothers who are in the free senior high school situation. For me, from where I come from, that is a major life changer. Today, as we speak, I have friends who are middle-class friends who cannot find housemates and houseboys and garden boys anymore in Accra. Do you know why? Because they are all back in school. Nobody wants his daughter or ward to be a houseboy or garden boy in a plush area somewhere in Accra when he could have free access to education to better their lives. So it is easy for people in urban areas to say, oh, free SHS doesn't mean anything, it doesn't. But for those of us who come from the countryside, we appreciate this policy and we know the impact of the policy. Today, as we speak, we all know that. By 2016, we had just about 800,000 people who have gone through senior high school education in this country. Today, we're talking about 1.2 million. In 7 years, we have added 600,000. I'm sure we can all appreciate these figures and what it means. If you even talk about gender parity as far as our education is concerned. Today, the gender parity situation we are dealing with, where we have more girls recruited into school than we used to have 7 years ago. So these are stark realities. Many people in my village will go and queue at NHIS offices just to renew their national health insurance. People will sleep in NHIS offices for days. Don't even go too far. Just Osuklote, around Asylum Down. There's an NHIS office there. 7 years ago, go and see the number of people who mass up there just to renew their. Today, those processes have been digitized.
But in that same
convenience, is that not some convenience for people?
But in that same Osu Clotte that you referenced, coming back to the urban space, the ball of kinky and how much we used to buy it for in 2016, and the size and weight of it, is it the same today? Is the ability of the Ghanaian by way of inflation as of March this year being 25.8%? Does that put that person? Yes, they are benefiting from free SHS, but the ability to feed and survive with life, has their life been made better?
I'm not sure Ghana has been declared a hunger-stricken country. I'm not sure.
But inflation is in double figures. You promised that single-digit inflation.
Yeah, but my brother, if we are talking as if we are all not aware of what has happened in the global economy, then we will also not be fair. I never thought in my adult life that there will ever be a lockdown in Ghana, in an African country. Who believes that? In over 100 years, we've never seen this force majeure where the entire world economy has come down to its knees. In your life, have you heard this before? So something monumental has happened in the global economy that is having a telling effect and impact on developing economies, particularly those economies in Africa that are largely dependent on raw materials. And so the impact, the supply chain, bottlenecks and how that has been transferred and the inflationary effects that it's had cannot be turned around. We all know that. We all know this. So sometimes we act as if we've just forgotten this never happened, things are okay. No, there is nowhere in the world where they are not currently facing inflationary pressures. Nowhere in the world. I'll be waiting for you to point out one country in the world where inflation has not really gone off the roof. But the ability of the government to put this together and bring some stability and restore the economy. The choice we have in 2024 is to make a choice about the two people, which of them will be the safe pair of hands to put this economy right.
Okay.
Those are the choices we have to make.
All right. On this tour, you've been to the Volta region, and you're of the firm conviction that the scales in your fortunes in the Volta region will change in this election. What makes you this confident?
Well, it's very interesting. We will make a dent in the Volta region. I think that's all we can say for now. We will make a major dent.
What makes you this confident that you will make this dent?
It's because of the caliber of the candidate we have. And I think that it will be important that you go back to the election results of Dr. Hilary Mann, and that would probably give you some insights into what could happen in the Volta region.
What developmental projects have you brought to the people of the Volta region to be able to make the significant dent, as you say?
I'm saying to you that we're talking about a candidate that is providing bold solutions to the people of the Volta region. His Excellency Bawumia will be in charge of this country, and his commitments to the Volta region will be made. And I'm saying to you, we will make a significant dent. Most of what we are talking about is really based on our strategy and how we are looking at the election narrative in the Volta region. But I'm giving you some indications.
Okay. But Mr. Karbo, if you are pointing to solutions, you also have to show working in giving evidence that these solutions will work because I have a track record. In the last 7.5 years, what can you point to as what you've done in the region to give hope and inspiration for the people of the Volta region to vote for the NPP? Have
you been to the Volta region lately?
So just tell me what you've done, Mr. Karbo.
7 years ago, the road into the Volta region is a testimony. Just look at the road network entering the Volta region, and you will know exactly what the NPP has done. That's the first thing that will meet you.
Is it the Akosombo to Ho Road? Is it the Accra to Akope Road? Which one?
That is Sokode. You've seen the Sokode Road. Anybody in the Volta region will tell you. You've seen the Sokoto Road. You've seen the whole market renovation works that the MPP has done. One of the best roads we have in this country. I'm sure if you send your Starr reporter to do a short report for you on that road, you will appreciate the point I'm making. Has the Volta region not benefited from the free senior high school education that this government has provided with the massive infrastructure that has gone into schools? Just like any other region. That's how the NPP operates. Go for where the vulnerables are, and we provide their solutions. And we've done that. The NHIs and the digitizations we are talking about, the Volta region is not being left out in all of that. Even Agenda 111. Go and see. Districts that never had hospitals, we are providing that. I hope this is enough for your question.
Mr. Karbo, it's not about me. It's about you providing context, which you have, and for which I am grateful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
I thank you for your time, Mr. Karbo.
Bye.
Anthony Karbo is the senior aide to the Dr. Bawumia campaign team, joining us this morning with his thoughts there. Time check, 22 minutes to 9. You're listening to Morning Star. We're live here on the Crown Star 103.5 FM. Murtala Inusah is still with us in the house. Let me just wrap it up with him for court today, and then we can segue to other matters relating to state-owned enterprises and how we are keeping these companies in good check. So we've talked about the matter to expect, or the cases to expect today in the courts, Murtala. The other one that we need to pay attention to will be that of the Cocoa Board case.
Yes.
What are we to expect today in court?
So, Saidu Agongo businessman and Agricord Ghana Limited today will be parading their fifth witness. On Monday, the fourth witness was discharged after prosecution subjected him to cross-examination. So today we expect a new witness to come before Justice Abuaji Tando. So that is what we expect, a new witness for Saidu Agongo and Agricord Ghana Limited, who are the second and third accused person in the matter in which they have been accused together with Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni over the purchase of liquid fertilizer for farmers. Okay.
All right. That's for the issue to do with the Cocoa Board case. How about the matter involving Beige Bank? The list of 61. We're on witness number what?
Yeah, so today witness number 9 is expected.
Okay.
And at the last court sitting, it was 7, and the last we had 8. They added 5 more, so now we do know that 5 additional witness statements are pending, who are yet to be called today. Justice Efiase Wasaibuchi will also deal with the matter, conduct a case management conference for them, and a case management completion plan, which will detail how many or how much time each of those witnesses will need the witness box, and then the case will progress. As to whether the court will seal it at that, we'll get to know more today.
Fantastic. That's Murtala Inusah, our legal affairs correspondent, looking sharp as always having the brief for us. Let's see how things pan out in the course today. Thanks for your time. I'll go for a short break now. When I return, we'll find out what's going on with our state-owned enterprises. There's a lot to unpack there. We'll touch on that. And then we'll bring you our science, tech, engineering, and mathematics segment that I'll bring to you right here on the morning. So, of course, what's in the trends? We will look it up as well. We're back after the break. I always tell you, it's a thick Wednesday, and it's going to get thicker. Stay with us.